Welcome. Welcome very much, Abdikadir, Lorot, Ramadan. I hope that is you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's me.
Okay, just turn it off again. And you are first candidate for the advertised positions, and this particular interview is for the position of chair, which you applied for. And before you hear members of this selection panel, my name is Nelson Makanda. I'm the chair of this panel. And I'll just let my colleagues introduce themselves, say their names, and then please, Vice Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Linda Kiome, the Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Lorot.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, Kipkoe Chandru Tanu is my name. I'm a member of the panel.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mheshimiwa. My name is Caroline Kituku. I'm a member of the panel.
Thank you, Ms. Kituku.
Good morning, Mr. Lorot. My name is Adam Solo. I'm a member of the selection panel.
Thank you, Mr. Olo.
Good morning, sir. My name is Nicodemus Bore, member of the panel.
Thank you.
My name is Fatuma Ali Saman, a member of the panel.
Thank you, Fatuma.
Good morning, Honorable Lorot. My name is Koki Muli Grino, a member of the panel.
Thank you, Madam Koki.
Good morning, Mr. Lorot. My name is Evans Misati, a member of the selection panel.
Thank you, Mr. Misati. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So thank you for coming and for keeping time this morning. I'd like you to know that these interviews are live. So everything you say here is recorded and it's being transmitted live. But be relaxed, feel free. There's some water there. There's a notepad with you. You can note whatever questions that are being brought to your attention so that we are able to engage. Speak directly into your mic and feel free. Allow me to begin by just asking you to introduce yourself. Let us know briefly what you think you have not told us as much. Most of the details are, of course, in the CV, and we have noticed who you are. But introduce yourself to us so that we get to know you from you. And perhaps just mention briefly what is it that makes you suitable for the position of chair of IEBC, appreciating the enormity of that role. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished members of the panel. My name is Abdul Khadir Lorot Hussein Ramadan. I am currently a chief magistrate based in Naivasha Law Courts. I have served in the judiciary for the last 23 years and counting. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I was admitted in April of 2001, practiced briefly, and then joined the bench. I was born in Baringo, a place called Mogotio, as family of the Turkanas who had moved from Kapedo, from conflict. I schooled in a school called St. Mary's Primary School. I finished my primary education in the same school and was privileged to be sponsored as a student at the Starehe Boys Center and School. I joined Starehe in 1990 and concluded my training there in 1993. Before pursuing, I was called to the first class of law at the Moi University, the inaugural class of law at Moi. In fact, by the time we were clearing Form 4, there was no faculty of law at Moi University. But during the process of admission, they selected 40 of us to go and start that faculty. I was privileged to be in that group. I've concluded my study at Moore University, and thereafter did pupillage at 2 law firms, one based in Eldoret and another one in Nairobi, and thereafter concluded the course study required for postgraduate diploma in law at the Kenya School of Law. I was admitted then as an advocate, as I have said, and from there I practiced briefly in Nakuru, in Eldoret first with Yano and Company Advocates, and then in Nakuru with 2 law firms. First is Kagushi and Company, and then Mirugi Karaoke and Company Advocates. In between this practice, before I joined practice when I was still awaiting admission, I served as a legal assistant at the Kerio Valley Development Authority. I have had a distinguished career in the judiciary where I joined as a district magistrate. They call them the district magistrate of the second class professionals. I started my career at Nkubu Law Courts. When I was at Nkubu Law Courts, I was transferred to head a station at a very young age at Igishugu Law Courts. I served in several court stations from there. I served as a head of station in Gatundu, head of station in Githunguri. Then I came to Makadara Law Courts before I was transferred to the Judiciary Training Institute as a trainer, but then joined Kapsabet Law Courts also to head. When I then came back to Milimani Commercial Courts, which is what we call factory. I think Madam Linda Kiome knows the type of work that's there. And in or around 2012, the President of the Republic of Kenya, through I think the advice of the Honorable the Chief Justice, nominated me to be a member of the Commission of Inquiry into the ethnic clashes in Tana River, Tana Delta, and Tana North districts. We concluded this task under the chairmanship of Her Ladyship, Lady Justice Grace Nzioka. We concluded the task and returned our report to the President on these ethnic clashes, which became part of what you now see as policy on the Greater Tana. After service there, in the judiciary, I served as the Secretary General of the Kenya Judges and Magistrate Association. While serving as Kenya Magistrate and Judges Association Secretary General, I was able to establish a secretariat for the organization, which is upbeat to date, including having an office. I also served as the Secretary to the Rules Committee from 2009 to 2011 or thereabouts, where we now promulgated the rules that we saw, as we call them today, the Civil Procedure Rules and the Court of Appeal Rules. In 2012, the Honorable the Chief Justice appointed me also as a member of the Supreme Court election rules. We were able to sit together under the chairmanship of Justice J.B. Ojwang, with membership of Justice Smokin Wanjala, my Justice Smokin Wanjala, my Lady Justice Njoki Ndungu, and the late Justice Majanja. We were able to come up with what were the first rules, election rules that were deployed for the election petition of 2013. I come from a community, the Muslim community in Mogotio, and I think the larger Rift Valley, the larger Baringo, have held me in high esteem, and I have been their trustee for the longest time. We have been able to do a lot of work as a community. We have put up several mosques. We have been able now to put up water for use by these mosques and alleviate certain things about school fees and things for our Muslim community within Mogotio. Basically, I do not want to speak about the good things that I have done as a Muslim, because I expect my reward to come from God. But in the judiciary, I have served well as chair of several committees, including the chair of job evaluation and job description and evaluation, lastly, which was used by the Judicial Service Commission to negotiate with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission for the judiciary.
Fair enough. Briefly, why do you think you are suitable for this position?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My first witnessing of an election was somewhere in 1988, which I was still a minor, but I witnessed an election where there was Mlolongo at the time. Having seen how parties would come with their photographs, hold them, a candidate, their photographs will be on their head, and then people come to line up behind them, and then they would now tell others not to come and line up behind this candidate and push them to the others. I saw quite a number of malpractices around that time. My experience in Tana River was that there was ethnic clashes, but the underlying reasons that were there for those ethnic clashes had something evidently to do with the devolution system that the country was adopting, and there was a community that was feeling that it would miss out on leadership in this area, and therefore instigated violence so that there would be transfer of voters from one area to another. I think I'm suitable. I have held positions within the judiciary where I have discharged my responsibilities with utmost integrity and with efficiency and with professionalism. This job, before I applied, I had a discussion with people who matter to me, including my family and members of my family. And one of the things that was going around is that this is a very heavy position. This is a very tough job. And that even if you're a good man, chances are that you will walk out tainted. I said, this is the period where patriots step up and say that their country needs them. And this is the time, looking at what happened in the last election and what happened between the commissioners, I think this is the time to consolidate whatever we have so that we can at least induce in this institution some level of confidence and give it credit with members of the public, because there is a bit of loss of confidence in the institution, and I think good men must step up for this position.
So fair enough, you're suitable because you think you're a good man.
Not just good man, I am professionally qualified for the position. I've also served, and I know and understand how to manage organizations.
Thank you very much. I will ask the Vice Chair, Ms. Linda Kiome, to take up the next section. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable Lorot, the IEBC Act, it envisages a commission that comprises persons with mixed sets of skills and disciplines. Please tell this panel the skills and competencies that you possess that brings in a new form of aura for purposes of your work as a chairperson of the commission.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. First and foremost, the constitutional requirements are that you should be an advocate of a certain number of years in practice. Secondly, I have, like I have said, I have not just been your traditional judicial officer who sits in court, goes home. I have also served in capacities where my decision was required for the purposes of greater good of both the institution and the country. I bring in the skill sets of competence. I bring in the skill set of collegiality and teamwork and being able to achieve within a team. And I also bring a skill set of my professional qualifications as an advocate and having served. Like I forgot to mention that I have been a trainer with the Judiciary committee on elections, and I have done 2 election disputes before me. And from from those 2 that I have been able to handle, I was able to mine what is some things that are important to bring changes into the institution of the IEBC. When I handled the election disputes before me, I was able to determine that there are gaps here that needs to be filled, and these are important tools that I bring with me. I also bring with me the judicial approach to issues. I'm a judicial officer, so I'm bringing with it decision making, where we import those values that come about with our decision-making approaches, where we do fairness, we ensure that parties are happy and are pleased with everything that we do in the determination of disputes that come before them. I bring also I think I want to wrap this into the commission. I actually want to say that there is infusion of integrity. There is an infusion of integrity into the institution that has to come from the commissioners themselves, who must lead from the top. And I think I'm that person who will be able to lead from the top with that integrity. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you.
Did you say you have any other training other than your legal and law training?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I am a continuing student of Masters in International Conflict Management. The only thing that I think remaining for me to conclude that is deliver my report. I had a discussion with my supervisor in early January, and I'm able to complete this so that by September I'll be able to graduate. And the reason it has delayed for me to conclude this particular Masters is because first I fell sick in the beginning when these issues when I concluded the coursework, and then thereafter I took up a task to do an interrogation of the conflict between the Pokot and Turkana, because it is home to me, and there are dynamics that are changing every single day, so I keep changing and reviewing my position on certain things.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to ask member of the panel, Madam Caro Kituku, to take up and ask you some questions. Caro.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Honorable Lolot, you have told us that you have not been a traditional judicial officer, in your own words, quoting you. The IBC chairperson is expected to have a legal background, which you have. So now please tell us, as a judicial officer, how have you contributed or been involved in elections or any electoral matters? And while at it, tell us what has been your major contribution to the electoral processes in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kituku. I have handled, like I have said, 2 election disputes, and they were election offenses. And there were serious election offenses that were the results of which were being awaited by the Supreme Court so that they can make a determination on a gubernatorial issue. And in the process of going through this election dispute that I handled, I was able to find gaps in the IEBC processes. For example, it was evident to me that those people who were charged before me, some of whom were IEBC officials, had one or two of them had been charged because they had forgotten and put every document inside the ballot box. So the ballot box could not be opened. There are documents that they are not supposed to put in the ballot box. So some had placed everything in the ballot box, and that raised suspicion that this ballot box is needed now to be reopened so that those things could be removed. And the suspicion on the candidate that lost was that this was intentional, and that there was stuffing of ballots, so that there was no scrutiny of the unused ballot papers. I think from here, I was able to find out that fatigue is a critical issue that affects election processes, and somehow IEBC as an institution has to create a policy on how they relate to this issue of fatigue during the electioneering process. Secondly, like I said, I was selected as one of the trainers by the Judiciary Committee on Elections to train my colleagues, and through a team we were able to train our colleagues in the preparedness for election. When I was Secretary General of the Kenya Magistrate and Judges Association, this was between the year 2009 and 2013. And in the year 2009, there was a petition. There were petitions that were ongoing from the 2007 election cycle, and from this cycle, we were able to note that one of our judges, Justice now President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Musinga, was able to handle a petition in Kisii within 6 months. And then we said, if it can be done, then it's something that we are able now to create the timelines for it and then make proposals for it. So this is how, as a Kenya Magistrate and Judges Association, we are now able to now drive the effort that our colleagues and every one of us is able to conclude election petitions within 6 months. Secondly, I forgot to mention that I was representing the judiciary during the writing of the Constitution. The Committee of Experts needed to consult with a group called the Reference Group, which incorporated professional bodies and other bodies of interest to the country, like TSC and others. So, Kenya National Union of Teachers and others. And in this process, when writing this constitution and those aspects on the election, I was able to make the contribution, having gone back to my electorate, which is the Kenya Magistrate and Judges Association, and finding out their views on how the election process should be and whether processes can be concluded within certain timelines. And I think that is the contribution I have made, and possibly now it's my opportunity to make even bigger contribution. Thank you, Madam Chair.
What is that you call bigger contribution?
There are bigger contributions to be made in this institution, in the sense that there are recommendations that were made by the Supreme Court in the last election cycle, and part of that is concerning timelines, how we are able now to negotiate these timelines and create greater period. Because when we were writing the first Supreme Court rules, election rules, to try and balance these timelines of 14 days was very difficult. How then are we going to give parties time to file their documents, within which the time frame for filing documents, and ensuring that by the time the petition is ripe for hearing, there is sufficient time. And you would see that the Supreme Court is always caught up by time. That's why they have to hear cases late into the night. And we are all glued, and I think the tension in the country is even much there's gripping and much more difficult. Of course, there are those who enjoy the sessions, but I think it's important that the Supreme Court is given sufficient time. So one of those would be that timeline. The second one would be the corporate governance of the IEBC, how we are able now to ensure that it has a face for itself, that it's able to have internal processes that are able to deal with internal issues, and also to create better ways of doing business as IEBC in the commissioners relate with each other, how the commission relates with staff, how the players within the sector, that also how does the commission then relate with major stakeholders like Parliament and the executive.
Madam Koki, kind.
Chair, Mheshimiwa Lorot.
Good morning, Madam Koki.
And welcome.
Thank you.
Today. The Kriegler report made on the reform of the election management board. I would like to ask a question related to were the various a few. One key, strengthen the, if you believe that IEBC requires.
Thank you. I think one of the it made IEBC. It must be statute. That time was before. It must have a separate, and then to consolidate all the elections one, and then also it talked about the corporate governance of their business should only be through committees, whether we can merge that type. Now you have greater strength in terms of how you elections. They also talked about reduction of stricter timelines. They talked about having a media strategy so that it's not just announced, so that Kriegler's committee announced by KBC and on other media. Those are some of the contributors to what we saw election violence.
Thank you very much.
And it's not unique to Kenya. It is something that you see across the jurisdictions, that the judiciary tends to be the poorer cousin of the three arms of government. So it helps, it does help, because there are times when you're able to push and get something more, and you keep using it as long as you're using it with prudence. And as I said earlier, we had very little money, but money to have a very vibrant and robust ICT system, just with the little that we had. So we were able to be prudent in the use of resources, apply little to do much. So if you don't have enough resources, then it's about how do you apply it to maximize on what you have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Appreciated. I would like to ask Madam Dr. Koki to ask you some questions.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning again, Honorable Amadi, and welcome to this interview session. It's not really an interview session. We're having a conversation, a dialogue. You spoke a little bit about legislation. When you spoke, you said that some things can be addressed by administrative action and so on. We notice, however, that since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution and the elections that have been held under the Constitution, we have seen every one of them, the validity of the election of the president has been questioned and therefore has been challenged in the Supreme Court. And after every decision of the Supreme Court, we have seen recommendations of reforms that are required, legal reforms that are required to be done in relation to the process of elections by the IEBC. And we have actually also seen from the strategic plan of the IEBC 2020-2024, they identified over legislation as a challenge for them. Yet, we have seen this happening each time. So I wanted to ask you two small related questions. The first one was, in what areas would you say there has been specifically over legislation?
Okay, so thank you for that question, Chair. In what areas do we have over legislation? I'll give a small example. The issue of polling stations and the number of voters that can vote per polling station. The regulations give the number as 700 per polling station. And from our voter turnout history, our voter turnout is around 65% on average. There are stations that get as low as 40%, others as high as 90%. So with 700